So we're going to start laying this next slab. So this is going to be a pumice slab. So we're using a lightweight aggregate, and we're going to cut that back afterwards, and it gives a lovely terrazzo finish to the floor. Right, so this is the pumice aggregate. We often use this in floors that don't have underfloor heating. It's a little bit more insulative. And as I said, it gives a really nice texture, like a terrazzo when you cut it back. But we're just sort of demonstrating in this floor a number of different floor finishes. This is sort of 15 mil down to dust, so you've got that grading, you've got that relationship between fine particles and large particles. So the grading of that is good for a mix. And in this situation, we're going to do a 5-to-2. So 5 of aggregate and 2 of lime. And here we're using St. Astia. One of the nice things about these pumice floors is they're quite white. And this is a whiter lime. So the Cecil Singleton birch that we used on the other floor is a greyer lime. And so we're just demonstrating that you can use a number of different limes. Let's say keeping the gauge right, so you know exactly your number of aggregate buckets in your water buckets, and also lime bucket. It's really important to keep lime in lime. Don't start putting lime into buckets that have got water in, otherwise you end up with it sticking to the side. So separating the buckets and just maintaining a system is useful. So we're going to go through the process of mixing this, putting these materials together, minimizing risk, and Mike will show how bags are opened and put into buckets. Make sure you have your buckets all to hand, so your gauging is absolutely accurate. You know exactly what's going in, and your next gauge is got ready, so there's no confusion. Mike's got his mask on, goggles on. He'll just show opening a bag. These bags can be opened either by cutting it with a knife or pulling the top, the sort of tongue that sticks out on it, and then you've got a nice convenient chute to run the lime out into the bucket. And obviously just being careful that you don't create huge amounts of dust as it's going in. So there are a number of ways in which you can mix in mixers like this. You can either take the dry ingredients, mix all those together first of all, and then introduce the water. Or you can put lime and water into the mixer, turn that to a slurry, and then add your aggregate to it. Not really any problem doing it either way. People have favoured ways in which they do it, and they all swear by the way that they do it, and they both work all right. So once this is all mixed together and you've got lime coating the aggregate, then you'll slowly introduce water to it. Just watching that first gauge so you know that you've got the right level of water in there. So we're going to be adding fibre to this again. I have a preference really for natural fibre, but we're showing these are screening fibres. And to a mix like this, we're quartering the bag, so a quarter of that bag goes into one mix. And introduce this at the end, and then it actually has a soap on it which helps it distribute so you don't get it clumping and balling up. You can see, and we've got doors open here, we've got these ones closed, but actually introducing those, mixing that gently, you know, you don't create a huge amount of dust, so just being careful reduces any of that risk and makes it easy to work in. So it's really crucial on this first mix to get an idea of how much water you want in, because you don't want to have too much, you don't want to have it too wet, but also it's got to be loose enough that you can actually lay it. And where you have aggregate sitting outside, then if it's been raining, obviously that aggregate is going to be wetter and it will really affect the amount of water that goes into a mix. So just be careful on that first mix. You've got that gauge exactly right. Then you can put the majority of the water in and just add a little bit more to it just to get it the right consistency. But just be cautious of the water. You want those mixes to be consistent. You want the people who are laying the screed, the slab, to work at the same rate, and they're working with material that is the same water content. So the usual proportion of lime to water is about half the amount of water to lime. So here we've got 2 buckets of lime, 5 buckets of the aggregate, and 1 bucket of water. So you can usually put in sort of 3/4 of that bucket all at once, so the whole thing starts to mix fairly quickly. And then be cautious with the last bit. The last bit can make the difference between going to a soup and being stiff enough. Here the mix is relatively loose, it's relatively wet. And as I say, these seem to create slabs which are solid enough and also easy enough to lay. So you can see it's having a really good mix. Generally, you're mixing about 15 to 20 minutes. It's quite a lot of time, so you need to make sure that you have all your gauges ready to go into the next mix. If you're doing larger floors and you're mixing in a tumble mix like this, then maybe 2 setups, so you're using one and feeding another one. With a forced action mixer, bigger mixers, which put a lot more energy into the mix, that mixing time is reduced because obviously it's getting a much more thorough mixing.